Hey everybody, we have some concerning data in regards to foreclosures that I want to share with you. I'll make this video brief because this is a very narrow topic. Now, foreclosures are on the rise. Of course, this is concerning anytime. It's extra concerning when you have inflation that's putting pressure on people's wallets, as well as a very much a weakening job market. So let me read you the most recent numbers and then I will give you my thoughts on the matter. So year over year for the last 6 months, foreclosures have increased. Now, I'll put this chart on the screen, but I'll also read these numbers for you. So in March, the number was 32,900 last year. It's up to 35,900, so a 3,000 foreclosure increase. April, 31.6 versus 36. May 32.6 versus 35.5, June 27.8 versus 32.6, July 31.9 versus 36.1, and then August of last year 30.2 versus 35.7. So an increase across the board over the last 6 months. So what does this mean? Well, it means that people are struggling, primarily when it comes to insurances, home insurances. I see insurance rates increasing there, and they're putting pressure on people's wallets, as well as general inflation. Now, inflation is interesting because on one side, it makes everything more expensive. It makes it harder for people to afford things, including their mortgage. On the other side, for fixed rate mortgages, it in a sense, it makes your mortgage payment cheaper relative to the overall, expense of things. That's why if you ask somebody who has a mortgage from 10, 20, 30 years ago, it sounds super low because obviously everything has increased. So the dollars relative to then, they're worth much less. With that said, that only matters when people's incomes are also increasing to keep pace with inflation. If incomes are not increasing, then you have inflation everywhere else, that's going to make your mortgage payment more expensive, not less expensive. And I think recently that's kind of what we're having. On top of that, we have a jobs market that's weakening, which of course, if your pay is not even increasing, you're getting fired instead, or you're getting laid off. That's going to make it much more difficult, obviously, to afford your mortgage payment. So that's what's going on right now. Mortgage rates are increasing. So is this the beginning of the end? Are we going to get a collapse in the housing market? I think that's what everyone wants to know because one, if you own a home, you don't want to lose equity. And if you don't own a home, you might be waiting to maybe be able to afford one. And the simple answer, unfortunately, is no. And I shouldn't say unfortunately. It depends on where you are on that side of the coin. And the reason being is twofold. The first is when you look at the pre-pandemic foreclosures, that was at like 0.36%. Right now, we're hovering at 0.25%, so we're actually still significantly lower than pre-pandemic foreclosure levels. And those levels were actually at a 15-year low going all the way back before the Great Recession of 2008. So even the pre-pandemic levels were low when it comes to foreclosures. Now we're even lower than that. So the foreclosure rate is still not anywhere concerning. When you look at 2008, that was like above 2% on the foreclosure rate, so significantly higher. With that said, you're still getting an acceleration of foreclosures. So, I mean, in a year from now, could that be approaching 0.5% or 1%? Theoretically, technically, yes, because you're getting an acceleration. The main thing here when it comes to home prices and a collapse of the market is, again, this is as simple supply and demand as you can get. Homes are as simple supply and demand as you can get. And right now we have supply up here and we have demand, we have demand up here and we have supply down here. So you basically have this mismatch where not only would you need to equalize the market, which would take about 3 million homes roughly, because we're underbuilt by that, but you'd need to sway it completely in the opposite direction where you have a ton of supply and very little demand for prices to actually collapse or to move down 20, 30, 40%, which is, what people, when you think of a real estate crash, that's kind of what you think. So because of that, I don't see it in 2025. I don't see it in 2026, barring a black swan event. I don't see it in 2027. And then on top of that, the last thing that I'm going to end this video with is interest rates. The Federal Reserve has once again began their FFR cuts. That, I know everyone says, well, there's no correlation between the FFR and mortgages. Let's just be honest. There is. Is there a direct correlation? No. Does the FFR directly influence mortgage rates? No. But it influences borrowing costs across the board, primarily short term, but that has a ripple effect, and eventually it reaches the mortgage rate market and mortgage rates come down. So as those rates come down, that's only going to allow people who couldn't afford a home now to be able to afford a home then. And that is going to, again, either increase home prices or at least keep them stable. So I don't want to drag this video out for too long. Foreclosures are on the rise. We're going to have to keep an eye on this, because if you get another 6 months of increasing foreclosure rates, that could take us to pre-pandemic levels. And then if you get 6 months after that, that could push us above pre-pandemic levels. So this is obviously subject to change, but right now we're still not in some alarm bell territory. With that said, if this video was informative, please consider subscribing. Helps the channel tremendously. It's difficult. It's difficult to grow here on YouTube, so every subscription means the world to me. I love finance. It's my area of expertise. I don't think I said it at the beginning of this video, but my name is Derek. I got my degree in finance. You don't have to, and I love talking about this stuff. So please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video, probably very soon, because there's so much to talk about in this crazy world that we're living in. Take care.